guys, Bismillah. So today I want to have like a Quranic conversation discussion,
hmm
not like emotional ones with like a lot of
Yeah,
dislike. So the
I
topic
don't
is
like this anyway.
yeah, the topic is so when the Quran says Rijal and Nisa,
hmm
does it mean men and women, or does it mean something completely different, like social classes or functions or structural categories?
To me, it's the latter. It's Rijal and Nisa. To me, it doesn't mean men and women.
Mm-hmm.
In every verses in many verses, you can see some clues that at least Nisa doesn't mean women. And then when you build the logic around it, you will also see that Rijal doesn't mean men. And basically, like to put it very simply, and then of course we're gonna talk about this more in depth, but Rijal it's like the leading layer. It's the group, like the category that leads people, that moves things forward. And Nisa, they're a subordinate layer. They're the deferred class. So they will follow and they are subordinate, so they will like be under that Rijal layer. And depending on the context, it can be different things.
Okay, so it's a deeper social layers of men and women.
Yes, to me, yes. It's not men and women, it's like social layers in different fields.
Okay. Let's go up here. So when we talk about Nisa and Rijal, the traditional sense, it means men and women, right? Like without like the Quran.
Yes, that's what they say. And even me, like in my home country, that's
Mm-hmm.
how we understand these words. Rijal is men and Nisa are women. But when you come to the Quran, you have to, it's like we have to realize that the Quran explains itself. So
Mm-hmm.
we can't come to this book and impose on it what society says. Because if you do this, you will find yourself in many contradictions in some verses. The Quran explains itself. So if we come to this book
Mm-hmm.
with already a definition of the words, in many cases we are not going to understand the full scope of the book.
Okay, now let's go to Surah 4, verse 1. I understand your point. The verse
Mhm.
it starts with nafs wahida, a single nafs.
Yes.
Then it mentions the Zawj. Then it says Allah spread from both them the Rajalan
رجال
and the
كثيرا
Kathiran.
ونساء.
So yes, the verse begins with like the deeper, like not just the physical body. So my question
Exactly.
here is why does the spiritual origin cancel a later gendered like human outcome? In other words, I'm saying like why can't the verse be saying like humanity comes from one shared origin, one nafs, one paired
Mhm.
source, and from that humanity spreads into many men and women. Why
Exactly.
must there be like a spiritual beginning erase like the normal meaning of like Rijal and Nisa here?
Look, can I start with another verse,
Yeah, yeah.
with a few other verses, and then I was planning to talk about this one.
Okay.
So the first verse that actually showed me that Nisa at least doesn't mean women like all the time.
Mhm.
Like at least in not every verse Nisa means women. It's verse 3:14. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ النِّسَاء.
Mhm.
And here in this verse, if you see something that like it's not even a detail because it's in front of us. Allah is saying زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ. Nas, it's men and women together. It's not just men.
Mhm.
And then he says, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ, so to the people, حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. And this verse, it's talking about desires. A desire is something that you will chase, or at least go forward. So if you understand Nisa as being women in this verse, you have a problem And the problem is that you understand it as Allah made women desire women.
Okay.
And all women desire women. And this, it doesn't make sense. So at least from this verse, you can tell yourself that maybe Nisa doesn't mean women in every single verse, just maybe. And this is what I was thinking for a long time. Like for 8 or 9 years, I was like, Nisa, maybe it means women in a few verses, but in other verses it means something else. But today, and it's been 3 years now, today I am convinced that Nisa never means women in the Quran. And this verse is the first one that at least it instilled doubt in my mind. And then there's another one. It's also in Surah An-Nisa, it's verse 34. If you read this verse, you see Allah saying, الرجال قوام على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. And if you read it quickly, you're not gonna see something. I will try to understand this verse like they do. They say رجال means men. Okay. قوامون على النساء. Nisa means women. Okay. بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. This بعض is weird. In Arabic rules, this بعض shouldn't be here. Because if the Nisa group is 100% feminine, it should be بعضهن. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعضهن. But he said بعض, and this is neutral. So if this is neutral, it means that at least the Nisa group is not 100% feminine. And then when you study the word qawamun and stuff, you will see that qawamun is not guardians, because this is how they say it. They say that men are guardians over women or whatever. Qawamun, it means erected. It's like standing. Allah is telling us that the rijal are erected over the nisa, above them, because it says ala. So there's a dynamic of like superiority. And the nisa group is not women, because the ba'din tells us that it's not a feminine group. So when you study the structure of these verses, you see that rijal are probably a class, a layer that stand above the nisa layer. So maybe the rijal are the leaders, like the higher hierarchy, and the nisa, they are beneath them and they follow.
Okay, I want the audience to understand also 314. I want to go back to that one.
Yes.
To understand it carefully. So 314 says they love the desires has been like adorned for the nas, including the nisa, like children, the gold, the silver, the horses, the livestock, the fields. So you're saying because nas means people and women are also people, therefore nas cannot mean women only.
Yes.
Because if that's your argument, couldn't someone respond that nas here is being used contextually for men, even though it literally means people?
No, because if Allah wanted to say men, he would
Yeah.
have used a word to say men.
Okay.
Here he used a word that includes everyone. So we can't come and say, even though here there's nas, Allah meant men. Me, I just try to look at the text, what is written, and then I try to understand what I read. And I try to never change the words of God. Like when I read an-nas, I read an-nas. I don't read something else. And because an-nas include women, if you say that women desire women, in my mind, this is a problem.
Okay. Okay. So it's like a deferred class, and it's like a vulnerable class below.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. And now if we come back to the verse you mentioned, the first verse of Surah An-Nisa, it says, wait, let me take the verse. اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منهما من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. And this verse here is very, very interesting. As you said, this verse talks about, let's use the same word, it talks about creation from a nafs. So Allah is telling us that we were created from a nafs. A nafs is not something physical. It's something like, well, it's spiritual, it's immaterial. وَمِنْهَا so from this nafs he created zawjaha. Zawjaha, if you notice in the Quran, it's never feminine. You will never find zawja. Zawj in the Quran is actually something that has to do with pairing. It's like complementarity. So from this nafs, he created it's like it's double, it's complement. Whatever this means, I don't know what this means, but from the nafs he created something. And from both of them, min huma, this word is in the dual. So from the nafs and its zawj, khalaqa rijalan kathiran wa nisa'an. Which means that rijal and nisa, if you take into consideration everything that he said just before this, he can't be talking about physical stuff. Because you and me and everybody in this world, we were not born rijal or nisa. We were born babies. And we were even born male or female. But in this verse, he didn't say dhukur, and he didn't say inath, which will be males and females. He said that we were created from two things, from the nafs and its zawj, and we were created rijalan kathiran wa nisa'an. So this thing, this like genealogy from the nafs and its zawj, it tells me from the beginning of this verse that rijal and nisa are not something biological. He's not saying that he created us men and women. He's saying that from the nafs and the zawj, he created let's say a category or a characterization called rijal and another one called nisa. Because he didn't use any biological word in this verse, he didn't say jism, he didn't say jasad, he didn't say bashar, he didn't say anything from these words that would be biological.
Okay. So Nisa, like, essentially denotes the female gender. It just means adults, like, without the biology, and it connects with the social and cultural realities, right?
Yes. Like, for example, I will give you a few examples, okay? Let's say you work in a company and you're a manager. Okay, you're a manager, so you're under the supervision and under the orders of your CEO, your boss. When you meet with your boss, during the meetings with the other managers, your boss is your rajul, and you and the other managers, you are among the nisa. You are the nisa of the rajul that is the CEO. This CEO, he talks to you, and he will give you like some directions, some like, this is what we are working on, this is the project, this is what you need to do, this is what I'm expecting from you and your team, and this and that and this and that. So the rajul talks to you. And then you, when you leave this meeting and when you go meet with your team, let's say it's an IT team, okay? You meet with your team, now you are the rajul. And your team are your nisa. Because now that the CEO is not here, it's like he delegated his power to you. And you become the rajul, and the team under your supervision become your nisa, and they're subordinate to you. And now you will talk with your nisa and you will tell them this is what you have to do. This is what we are working on. This is the goal. This is the Nisa and Rijal. It's this dynamic of someone that is leading or carrying something else, and the Nisa is the layer that is beneath this leader and that basically follows him.
Okay. So using that understanding, can someone say Allah can be a Rijal? Because Allah says he's a king, like he's a creator, owner. So can he be a Rijal also, like an authority? Like
To
can
me,
he?
yes. To me, yes, I think so. Of course, he's not human, he's not like physical or anything, but to me, yes, we could say this.
What about the Nisa, since it's like it's a lower level than Rijal? Could he be that also?
No,
Okay,
there's no way.
okay, I understand. Yeah, I agree. Allah could have used, Dankar or Unta if he wanted to do it for
Yes?
biology. This is a, my phone's about that. Why does what is the existence of Dankar or Unta prove that Rijal and Nisa are not just men and women? Couldn't
Sorry, I didn't understand.
couldn't Dankar and Unta refer more specifically to the more specifically to biological male and female, while Rijal and Nisa refer to like the adult structural uh, layers of men and women in society.
Mm,
Like, like,
sorry, I didn't understand.
like, why can't Dhankar and Untha be only for biological sex, while Rijal and Nisa are like adult social structures?
Yes, maybe. Like, for now, I'm still not sure what Dhakar and Unta mean. Sometimes it's like I'm not sure what it means
Like,
exactly. But
like,
yes, it seems like it means it's more related, to biology.
yeah,
It looks like it.
some people say that can babies be called Rijal?
No, they can't.
So does that prove Rijal or not like male biological? Is that a way you can prove it also, or is it in other ways?
A baby can be a rijal or a rajul because it's a baby. Like even today in today's like vocabulary, a baby is not a man.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to use the same words, a baby is not a man. It's either male or female. It's a boy or it's a girl. A rajul, even today, when we speak, a rajul is a man. It's an adult person. It's someone that is like older than a baby. And when you look into the Quran, even when you look into the word rajul itself, in Arabic, the word we have for feet, it's rijl. A foot is a rijl. And rajul and rijal, they have the exact same roots as the word we have for foot. Now we can ask ourselves, like, why is the word for foot or feet, why is it the same one almost as rajul and rijal? What does a foot do? A foot carries you, it carries your whole weight. It moves you forward. It moves you in any direction actually. This is the main characterization, the main characteristics of a foot. So if you take this logic and you try to look into the rijal and rajul concepts, it means that rajul is someone that carries something and that moves something. And this, in a simple term, is called a leader. A rajul is someone that leads because his function, his characteristic is this. A baby doesn't lead anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's just here, he's just surviving, and it's not even that he's leading, it's that he is dependent on other beings to maintain him alive. So I wouldn't say that a baby is a rajul, and this is why when I read verse 4:1,
Hmm.
like this, it struck me like a baby is not a rajul and it's not a nisa either.
Okay, I get that. So I wanted to go to Surah 4, verse 25. So this
Yes.
is it's a topic I struggled with. Allah mentions Nisa and he says if they commit the fahisha, they receive half the punishment of the muhsanat. So my question here is in 425, are you saying Nisa is not talking about women here?
Wait, let me read. Yes, I'd say it doesn't mean it's not about women here either. And this is not only because of the word nisa, but because of the logic of the whole verse, and specifically on ma malakat aymanukum.
Okay.
The ma in ma malakat aymanukum, it tells me that Allah here is not only talking about human beings, because He said ma, and in the Quran there's another expression almost identical to this one. It's alladhina malakat aymanukum. But here he said ma malakat aymanukum. So I would say that this verse is not, maybe it's not even talking about human beings, and it's even talking about nikah. And to me, nikah is something that doesn't only happen between humans. Nikah happens also between, let's say, structural entities. Nikah is not only women. It's not only people. It's not a bond only between people. And this is because of other verses that talk about this. And you will see that almost whenever nikah is mentioned, you see some impersonal entities mentioned. You see a ma somewhere.
So the punishment for this faisha is not about women. It could be anything. Like, it's not biological, like women or
Yes,
men.
I would say yes. I would say yes. I still have to check this verse, but from the logic of it and from the words God used,
Hmm.
I would say, yeah, it's not about people or women, probably.
Okay. So what about Surah 4, verse 75? So the
Verse,
Quran, yeah,
which
the
one?
Quran, Surah 4, verse 75.
75.
The Quran mentions the oppressed among the Rijal, the Nisa, and the children in this verse. So my question is, if Rijal and Nisa do not mean men, women there, then why are their children? Why are the children mentioned separately in this verse?
Wait.
The verse is like seems to list oppressed men, women, and then children. That sounds like normal human categories. But if it don't mean men and women and Nisa and Rijal, and then why is children mentioned separately in this verse? Would you translate 475 to as like oppressed powerful people and oppressed delayed people or something else?
Yes, I will still translate it like this. Because to me, I still need to check this. Okay, I'm not sure 100%, but I think that Wildan or that
Hmm.
Walidan, and like this concept, I don't think it's really like affiliation. I don't think so. And this is because of the verses that they call the Testament verses, the heritage. When I look at this verse, at these verses about the the will, I don't have the impression that this word walid means like affiliation. I don't know yet what it is exactly, but I wouldn't say that it's this.
Okay. Because if we go with the layers, like men and the Rijal and Nisa,
Yes,
this could like translate to the higher layer and the lower layer, and then the children.
yes. But walidain, I don't think it means children.
Okay.
This is what I mean. What does it mean exactly? For now, I don't have an idea, like a precise idea yet.
Yeah.
But this is what I think, and I still need to check this.
Yeah, that's good. That's Allah tells us to
Yes,
not speak what we don't have
of course.
knowledge of.
Yes, this is why I prefer not to say too much because for now I'm not sure
Okay,
about
okay.
walidain. But walidain.
Okay, let's go to verses where Nisa is connected to things like menstruation. That's how they understand the traditional way, like waiting periods and
Yes,
pregnancy. For
yes,
example, Surah 2, verse 222 speaks
yes,
about menstruation, and Surah 65, verse 4 speaks about those who
yes.
no longer menstruate and those who are pregnant. So my question is, if Nisa is not women here, how do you explain the verses where Nisa is connected to menstruation and pregnancy?
Sure. And I posted just recently about verse 65:4. So I will tell you what I think, how I understand it. The word here that is, like, let's say polemical, okay? The word here that is interesting is mahid. They say that mahid means menstruation. Okay. But the problem here is that the root of mahid it's ha, ya, dad. But the word mahid has another letter in it. It's the ma. When you add the ma to a root, most of the time it indicates that you're talking about a place. So mahid is not an event. It's not something. It's a place. So it's somewhere. So saying that mahid means menstruation, it's a problem because a menstruation is not a place. It's an event. It's something that happens every month, like usually for women. So saying that mahid means menstruation is incorrect. And
Someone
there's even a,
someone could say it's like a place in the woman's body.
no, because menstruation is blood flowing. This is what a menstruation is. It happens in the uterus, yes, but it's not a place. And there's even a problem in this verse, like not in the verse, but in how people understand it. The problem is that the first category that Allah talks about, they say it's the men, it's like the menopaused women, the ones who are desperate for their menstruation. He talks about them. And then he talks about the women who didn't menstruate, who never had menstruation. The Sikh Sunnis, they tell you this means little girls. Okay. But other people say that this group that didn't menstruate, it's like because there are some women who never experienced menstruation and Allah is talking about them. But this doesn't make sense because this verse is about talaq. And basically this thing with the mahid and the waiting period and all this, they say if a woman didn't menstruate, you have to wait 3 months to divorce her. But it doesn't make sense because a woman who didn't menstruate can't get pregnant. So why would you have to wait? And this is even without talking about the fact that mahid in itself, in its construction, is a place. So the way I see it, mahid is a place, it's like a channel where something is supposed to flow. Because the root ha, ya, dad refers to a flow of something flowing. Mahid, is a place of flow. Now, what can this be? This is the question where anyone can contradict me and it's fine, we can all come up with a theory. But I will give you again an example. I could give you the same example as before with the manager, but I will give you another one. In a governing structure, you have a ruler. Okay, you have the leader, a president, or I don't like presidents really. I prefer wise dictators. So let's say you have a wise dictator. This guy wants to rule the country and he wants to do it well. So he will appoint some ministers and ministries. There's the health minister, the finance, the defense, the whatever. And each and every one of these ministries are the mahid. They're a place where the governing flow pass through them. Which means, what I mean by this is the leader has a vision. Okay, he has some projects, he wants to do some things for the country. He will give his directives to his ministers. These ministers will take these directives in their ministries. This is a mahid. And in the health ministry, in this mahid, things will flow. And let's say a ministry became obsolete, like it has no use in a governing structure. After 3 ashhur, after thalatha ashhur, whatever this means, if this ministry didn't produce anything, you have to talaq. You have to cut this ministry loose. Like if it has no use for the people it's supposed to serve, you cut it. If this ministry that you created, let's take another example, another ministry that you created or leader created, and nothing ever flowed through it. Like what happened last year with Doge. Okay? Trump created Doge. It was supposed to be run by Elon Musk and whoever, but it never produced anything. And after a few months, they talaq, they cut this ministry, and today Doge doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So in my mind, this verse about Mahid could refer to something like this. It's like an intermediary channel between a leading role, a leading group, and the people it's supposed to serve. This is how I understand verse 65:4. And then about verse 222, Allah says about the Mahid, so he's still talking about the place. He didn't say Al-Haid. Al-Haid, if he had said this, I couldn't be saying what I'm saying right now. But he said Mahid. So he's still talking about a place. And as Saad said in the chat, it's Nisa in the Mahid. So when the Nisa are in this thing, in this place, here is what you have to do, because Al-Mahid huwa adhan. And adhan, if you look into what does it mean, you will see that the idea behind it is it's like a disruption. Like something is supposed to flow, but it's being disturbed by something else. Because the Mahid itself is a disruption. It's like there's friction in it. And this makes sense. If we take the two examples I gave you, the manager, CEO, IT team. When the CEO tells you, the manager, here is what you have to do. Here is what I'm expecting from you and your team. You will take what the CEO tells you, but maybe the CEO, he is not as up to date as you on IT matters. Maybe you know some things better than him because the guy is busy, he's a CEO. He has to meet with his lawyers, with his investors, with whoever. It's your job. You know your job better than him. So maybe sometimes the CEO asks something from you, but you know that what he's asking for, it's either like obsolete, we don't do things this way anymore, or you know a better option. And when you will go to your team, you will give them your option. It's at the end of the project, it's not going to be a completely different product that the one the CEO asked you, but it won't still be the exact same thing. because you, as the manager, your managing position is a mahid. It's a place of flow. And you brought your vision to what the CEO told you. So you brought some disruption. You brought some friction into this thing. Even if you didn't do it in a bad intention, you had every good intention in mind. But because you are because you are an intermediary, friction has to happen. And for the ministry example, it's the same thing. If a wise ruler gives his minister some directives, maybe the health minister is aware of some health statistics that the leader is not aware of. So even if the leader tells you to do something, maybe you will not do it exactly as he said, because you know better. Because your mahid position, because you are in this mahid, you will act as a little bit of friction. And it's not wrong, like it's inherent to this place.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I understand. So I want to get some clarification of hamala. So you're saying the root word, it's hamala, right? And then what does that relate?
Hayadat.
And
Sorry?
does that relate to like something like carrying or bearing?
No, ha, ya, dad.
Oh, hayada. What about
Yes.
hamala? Because this is different.
Hamala,
Hamala, yeah.
this also I'm still studying this. So
Because
for
you,
now, I can't say.
because you said
Because I know the
earlier,
verse. Huh?
you said earlier, like then you said sometimes is dependent on like what the meanings of the context is talking about. The pregnancy is
Yes.
only for women, right? So some people could say this is this is this is consistent with the verse about the menstruation, how that understanding works in pregnancy.
But like here's the thing. When you read this verse, again, if you take it from the beginning,
Yeah.
you see a lot of problems before getting to the Hamala concept. Because to get to the Hamala concept, you have to study first the Mahid concept and then to pay attention to the logic of the verse. If we use this logic, okay, if I try to understand this verse like everybody understands it, that Mahid means menstruation, even before getting to the Hamala, I have a problem. Because a woman that never menstruated can't get pregnant. She just can't.
Oh, okay. That makes
And
sense.
if I take again the Doge example, the Doge, they were cut out. They were like talaq from the US ruling class before they could hamala anything. So maybe hamala has to do with this too. It's like you carry something, you carry an objective, you carry a responsibility. Hamala, I think it has to do with carrying. It's not exactly being pregnant.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I looked at the root words is it's saying it's carrying or bearing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. And then I wanted to go into Surah 33:59. This verse a lot of people bring up because it mentions um the prophet's wives, his daughters, and then it says
yes.
the nisa of the believers. So the question here is if nisa here does not, if it does not mean women, then why are the wives and daughters mentioned in the same sentence?
Okay.
Wouldn't be the
You,
natural reading be wives, daughter, and then believing women?
I will answer you. You're talking about verse 39.
39 or 59?
Okay. Oh, yes, okay. So first, I want to tell you about verse 33 of Surah 33, verses 30 and 31. Sorry. If you take these verses, 30, 31, and even 33, I will show you the understanding I have from these three verses. If you look at 33:30, you see the verse starts with Ya Nisa an-Nabi, Man ya'ti min kunna, blah blah blah. Here again, there's a problem from the very beginning of this verse. Allah is talking about, he's talking to Ya Nisa and Nabi. If we say that this group is feminine and that it means women like wives of the Nabi, there's a problem that comes immediately. It's that after addressing them, Allah said, Man ya'ti, and ya'ti is masculine. If Nisa and Nabi is a feminine group, we should be reading Man ta'ti, but we don't. So the conclusion here, like the idea, is that the Nisa and Nabi are not a 100% feminine group. At least this is the conclusion for now. But you could still say, yeah, maybe like someone could still answer something here. But the problem is the very next verse. It starts the exact same way almost. It says wa man, it says wa, so it's a continuation from the previous one. So he is still talking to Nisa and Nabi. And he is saying wa man yaqnut min kunna. And same problem here. Yaqnut is also masculine. It's not feminine. It's not taqnut. So here, I can tell you with 100% certainty that Nisa and Nabi are not wives. They're a group of people that have the Nisa characterization, and they're not feminine 100% because of the verbs. Two verbs here in two following verses that Allah told us clearly that this group is not female.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at verse 33. This one is funny when you ask Sunnis, because basically they use this verse to tell women to stay in their houses because the wives of the Prophet are staying in their houses and stuff. But here, if you follow the logic of the three previous verses,
mm-hmm.
you see that Allah is saying, وَقَرْنَا فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Qarna, the idea behind this verb, is not really staying, but it's like settling yourself. Like settle yourselves in the buyut. Buyut, it's a long topic. I don't think it's a physical house, but it's not important. He is telling them to settle themselves in their buyut. وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَا تَبَرُّجْ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. And this, they say it means do not adorn yourselves, like do not display yourselves, the adornment of the time of ignorance, like pre-Islamic time. But tabarruj is a very, very interesting word, because this word, this root, means adornment only in the verses where the translators saw it talks about nisa, about women. They always translate tabarruj, etc. like this. But when you check the verses where this root appears in other contexts, it's always something that has to do with something high, like towers, constellations, things like this. So tabarruj, the idea behind this root, it's something that is elevated, something high. And I will use a few words in today's languages. In French, we have a word that even English people use with the English accent, and it's bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie is like the elite, the aristocracy.
Mm-hmm.
There's embourgeoisé, embourgeoisement. In
So
English, you have these words. Yes?
Yeah, so you're saying it's like a political or like independent class, people under the
Yes.
authority of the prophets. So
No, yes.
somebody would say, why does the passage start with like 33 verse 28? It says, "O prophet, say to your aswaj," Like
Yes,
it's not just the partner or the what's it called, the companions of the prophet, right? Like spouses.
I think that Zev is not people. Like Zev, it's almost never someone. It's always something, I think. And here in this verse in 33, he is actually telling, like, if you want me to tell you what I think Nisa and Nabi are, it's like the Nabi, to me, he was a leader. He was a very powerful man. And the Nisa are the layer beneath him, subordinate to him. Nisa and Nabi is not his wives, it's the layer under him that were following his orders, that he was leading. And that's why Allah says, Ya Nisa and Nabi, you are not like the other Nisa. Because being Nisa and Nabi carries a lot of responsibility. You can't do anything you want. And in the verse 33, he is telling them basically do not become bourgeois, like do not become this depraved elite. And this is what I think Tabarruj al-Jahiliyyah means. It's not something pre-Islamic. He's saying do not become elite, but the depraved kind of elite. Because today's elites are all degenerate. Like we all know it. We all know how crazy they are. And Allah in this verse is telling the Nisa and Nabi, this layer under him, do not become degenerates just because you are Nisa and Nabi.
Oh, I understand now. That makes
And
sense.
the verse 39, to me, the verse 39, it's 59, sorry, it's the same. It's the same logic, I mean.
So Allah is talking to humanity in general in Surah 30, verse 33, right? It says
Yes,
when people suffer, they call on God. Then when the mercy comes, some of them return to shirk. That is like the moral pattern of human behavior. So
yes.
where's the evidence here that Nisa means something other than women? Because some people are
In
gonna say it means something else or it means women.
which verse? Sorry.
Surah 30, verse 33, where he's like generally
Ah,
addressing humanity.
yes, but here he's not addressing humanity. He's addressing a very specific class.
So people that suffer, that class, or
Yes.
okay.
Hmm?
So are you saying Surah 30, verse 33, it just proves the nas parts of humanity, and it doesn't mean like Nisa means women automatically in Surah 30 versus the
No,
other
no,
ones?
yes. No, it's not women. Because Nisa and Nabi were a very specific group. And today, obviously they're not here anymore.
Okay.
And about verse 59, wait.
Yeah, 59. Surah
Yeah,
33, verse 59. It talks about the prophet's
yes.
wives, his
To me,
daughters.
it's the same logic. But to try to show you this, I will talk about verse 24:31. It's the verse that they say, the verse about like women have to cover their chest or whatever.
The Jalil.
24:31. If you look at this verse, they say that this verse is meant for believing women, the mu'minat, and they say that Allah tells the believing women that they have to cover their chest. So he's talking to women, a specific class of women, specific group, and he's telling them a few things. But here there's a problem again. And this is what's interesting in these verses is that if you read them fast, if you try to go quickly, you will not see a few details that matter. And for example, in this verse, there's the word bu'ulatihinna. They say that bu'ulatihinna means their husbands. So Allah is talking about the husbands of these believing women. But the problem is that the word for husband, the way they see it, it's in the singular, it's Baal, in the singular. And in the plural, it's Bu'ul. But in this verse, we are not seeing Baal and we're not seeing Bu'ul. We see Bu'ula. There is a ta marbuta. And this ta marbuta in the Quran, it doesn't denote the feminine. When a word has a ta marbuta, it means that this word is delimited by something else. It's subordinated to something else. That's why sometimes you will find the exact same word, but in some cases the word will have a ta marbuta, and in other verses it will not, like Layl and Layla. So bu'ulatihinna doesn't refer to the husbands. It refers to, it refers to a group that is characterized by having responsibility or authority over these mu'minat. This is how I see it. If Allah was talking about the husbands, this ta will not be here. And because this ta is here, it means that he is not talking about specific individuals, but probably a group. And then in this same verse, farther down the line, you see that Allah, while He is still talking about the mu'minat, He mentions nisa'ihinna. So their nisa, the mu'minat, they have their own nisa. If you tell me that mu'minat refer to believing women, how can believing women have their own women or their own wives or whatever?
Oh, okay.
And this is even, I don't even want to talk about the whole list of groups Allah is talking about, but these two details already, they tell me that the mu'minat, they're not the believing women. Because first, the idea of amana, it's not about belief. Amana is about security, anchoring. And the mu'minun and the mu'minat, they're groups that actively secure, however you want to understand it. The mu'minun, it's like they are the rijal category of the mu'min. Mu'minun, they're the rijal class, and under the mu'minun, we have the, let's say, the nisa class of the mu'minun, which are the mu'minat. And the mu'minat, they have their own nisa. And this is like the same example I gave you with the manager thing. The manager, when he is with the CEO, he is a nisa. When he is with his team, now he has nisa. So this is how I see it. So when I see in verse 33:59, when I see nisa al-mu'minun, I don't see it as the wives of the mu'minun. I see it as the subordinate layer or layers of the mu'minun. Do you see my logic?
Yeah, so you're saying, like, the Egyptians, they had, or I forgot which one it was, the Mesopotamians or Egyptians, they had like a higher class, the middle class, and the untouchable. So is this like characterizations of social,
Yes.
like high class, middle class? Because if you say middle class in today's context, it could be both men and women. It's not like a specific.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay. This is how I see it, yes.
That makes sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do you have the methodology? Like, what people are going to be asking as methodology?
Yes, of course. So, to determine what nisa means, what I did, and actually this is also something that my mentor told us like 12 years ago now, almost. what we do in our group, and I know many other people do it, I'm not saying it's only us, but we try to explain the Quran. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We try to explain the Quran only with the Quran. We don't use dictionaries, we don't use lexicons, we don't use any of this. We try to understand this book with the logic from this own book, from the book itself. And for example, I will go back to verse 3:14. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ, etc., etc. When you get to this verse, and when you see that this verse, how they understand it, it's problematic, now you have to try to understand Nisa. What does Nisa mean? So the way I see it, it's like I'm trying to solve mathematical equations. And now I have one unknown variable, it's Nisa, and I need to discover what this means. So I will try to use a few things. And the main tool that I use is the roots. Nisa has almost the exact same root as the verb nasiya, which means, like, simply put, it means to forget. It doesn't mean to forget, but it's how they understand it. Nisa comes from almost the same roots, like the same letters of nasiya. So now I need to understand what nasiya means. And for this, I will use the opposite concept of nasiya, which is adhkar. And for this, I will use two verses. The first one, it's a verse in Surah Maryam, when Allah says, وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. Your Rabb was not nasiya. Whatever this means, we will try to understand what nasiya means. And another verse where Allah says, أذكرني أذكركم. And they understand it as, remember me, I will remember you. But here there's a problem. The problem is that Allah doesn't forget, because Allah said himself, وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. So he doesn't forget. If he doesn't forget, he doesn't remember. He knows. So if Allah doesn't remember because he doesn't forget, it means that أذكرني أذكركم doesn't mean remember me, I will remember you. But when you try to understand the logic behind dhakar, you see that dhakar has to do with mentioning. When you mention something, you bring it forward. If I say something like, I've been talking for 1 hour, you've been talking, we are bringing things forward. So أذكرني أذكركم is not remember me, I will remember you. I think it's put me forward, I will put you forward. Whatever this means, I don't know how God will do this. I don't know. But this is how I understand this verse. So if أذكرني أذكركم is put me forward, I will put you forward, then it means that nasiya and nisa, it's like put me, it's something put behind. Nasiya, it's something that comes behind or after. And when you go back to the concept of Nisa, the logic is the same. Nisa, it's something that comes after. It's something behind something else. And this is how I understand Nisa. I don't use a lexicon, I don't use a dictionary. I just try to use the
Quran.
The Quran, and the logic behind the verses and the concepts.
Yeah, I also have like a similar methodology. I let the Quran clarify itself. The thing
Yes,
the thing
I
is
think
usually
this is how it has to be done. Yes.
like the ta'rif, tasrif or something. I don't
Tartil.
forget.
Yes.
It's like a
Yes.
interactive explanation where one verse, one place can
Exactly.
explain or supplement or clarify other verses in other places. This is how I read all the topics I research. So the
Yes.
final point I think we should focus on, like,
Mhm.
we shouldn't blind follow tradition and their understandings, and
Mhm.
but we should also not create new meanings unless the Quran forces us
Yes,
to
of
think
course.
about it. So Risal and Nijah can usually mean men and women in some areas, but deeper because it can also mean a structural, social
Yes,
meaning depending on the context.
exactly. I think
I
that
agree.
maybe to me, maybe the only case where Nisa can mean women in the Quran is when Allah talks about Maryam. Maybe.
Mhm.
But honestly, like this is, I talk to you sincerely, and of course, I'm not asking you or anyone to believe me or trust me. Like, do the study yourselves, it's fine. But I think in
Yeah.
every other verse, Nisa doesn't refer to women, except if the situation is clear or something. But uh, it's not women in almost any verse.
Okay, that makes sense. We can do. We've been on for an hour right now, I think. Or we could do a question and answer session if you available
Yeah,
still.
if you want, yes, we can try.
So if anybody has any questions and wants to come up, you can request now. Or you can ask the questions in the chat if you're not comfortable with the voice chat.
Sorry. Oh yes. And you, what's your take, by the way?
Yeah, it makes I understand this. I understand it makes sense.
Mhm.
I still have to do some more research and like verify.
Yes, yes, of course. And as I said, like I don't pretend to be 100% right. Like I'm a human just like you. I just spent a lot of time reading this book, and I just try to share what I find. That's it. I'm just like all of you.
Yeah. Salam Sa.
Salam Sad.
I mean, I've already said this in the chat, but I just want to like point it out again. In
Mhm.
3359, it says, "Ya ayyuhan nabi," and then it mentions azwajaka, so the nabi's azwaj, and then banatika, so supposedly his daughters, and
Mhm.
then his nisa. So, you know, if you want to take azwaj to mean spouse, it's a bit more nuanced than that, but let's just stick with the traditional for now, just to prove that it's wrong, right? So if
Mhm.
azwaj means spouse, then I'm sure everybody is kind of on the same page with the fact that the Nabi is married to women, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Mhm.
So that's a group of women. And then Banat, if that's daughters, then again, that's a group of women. And then his Nisa, which is his group of women. So it makes no
Mhm.
sense for him to mention two groups of women and then
Yes.
all his women. It would have just been easier just to say Nisa'ika, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so just by that alone, there's already like an evidence to prove that Nisa cannot mean women in this context.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it fails like the I don't know what it's called right now.
Are you talking about Nisa
The
al Mu'mineen?
the relevance principle is what I was looking
Yes.
for.
Of course, I agree with you.
Sorry, what was the question, Qurani?
Are you saying the Nisa al Mu'mineen doesn't mean women here? Al Mu'mineen? Because it talks about the Al Mu'mineen. So do we cancel that word out from that verse and understand it as like the layers of like the Mu'mineen that's under the Prophet's authority also?
Yeah, well then, I mean, you can do that as well, but wouldn't his so there's mu'minin and then there's mu'minat, right? So like there's also that distinction. So is it the mu'minin is a group of people and then it's the nisa from them?
Yes.
Is there no chance that his banat and his azwaj also are part of the mu'mins? Like
Yeah, someone could read this verse and like they see the details make the gendered reading very strong. Like why is wives there, why is daughters there, why is feminine pronouns there, why is the outer garments there, why is the protection from being harmed? These are all like gendered. readings. That's why some people argue for the Nisa mean women.
Yeah, but that's personally, like I'm just talking for myself here, but personally, I see it as just part of the language. So, for example,
Yes.
you have the Shams, which is feminine, where they say that means the sun, right? Like that doesn't mean that it's a female or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just the structure of the language.
Okay.
And there's even something else. Wait, sorry. Sometimes in the Quran, as I've said earlier, you will find some words that have the two forms, like Layl and Layla, as I said, but also Alaq, Alaqa, Waraq, Waraqa. And there's this ta marbuta in some verses, and in other verses, it's not here. And I think that when we see this, it means that the word in question is not exactly the same. For example, this is what I understand, but I can be wrong. Layla with the ta marbuta is always delimited by something else, like Laylat al-Siyam, Laylat al-Qadr, whatever these things mean, it's a Layla within something, it's contained within something else. But Layl is another concept, almost like it's not so different, but it's not exactly the same thing. So the way I see it in the Quran, the masculine and the feminine are not exactly gendered like they are today in Arabic. The masculine, most of the time, it's like something leading, something that is almost like defining. And when we have something that seems feminine, it's something that is subordinated to something else. It's delimited by something else. And this is a work that you will have to do, like I think over time, is that when you read something in the Quran that is masculine or feminine or whatever, you have to actually try to understand the dynamic behind the verses. What is God talking about, and how these characters or these elements play out with each other and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Like you brought up the Surah 3359. I believe that kind of proves the social context. It
Yes.
it doesn't mean like women and mentioning wives and daughters and son believers. The reason given is not the biology. It's like the reason is
Yes.
so they may be
No.
recognized
Yes.
and not harmed. So it's like a public social vulnerability context of the verse.
Yes. To me, yes. Rijal and Nisa, it's this 100% of the time.
Yes. Anybody have questions? I don't know who's bringing these people up, but anybody else have questions in the chats? Or you could come up and say something if you want to. What happens after you die according to the Quran? What?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
It's part of the unseen. In the Quran is like an hello Mahdi. Hello
Yes?
Mahdi. Are you talking right now? Or he's not even here. Yeah. So the
Oh.
Quran gives like a. It doesn't like explain it fully, but it just says like people die and they're gonna come back eventually at some point in time.
For now, I think this, yes. I think that if you fail the test, I think you come back.
Yeah. I
But
think that's it. I don't think they have any more questions, so we can just end here. Thank you for coming on today. Eventually, more. I want to have more conversations, different topics. Just to learn more, gain more
sure,
understandings, and evolve.
with me?
Yeah, with you, anybody.
Yes, of course. Whenever you want. And other people will be interesting too.
So I hope you guys I hope you guys enjoyed today's live and gained some knowledge. Salam, everybody. Thank you guys for joining
And
today.
thanks a lot, Quranic. It was a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, Darren. Muslim. I'm gonna join your
And
lives and also when I have time. Yeah.
you're very welcome whenever you can. And thanks to everyone in the chat. I didn't read the chat. I'm sorry. I was focused, but thanks to all of you.
Okay, I'm gonna end it now. It's gonna be a recording. It's gonna be published on the channel after I just download and everything. So eventually, if you guys
Perfect.
want to watch it, it's gonna be live on the channel forever. So I hope you guys
Let me
enjoy.
know and I will share it too.
Thank you.